All right, this is a bit of a cold one today, ladies and gentlemen. In Houston, Texas, Nate, it's cold. Oh, hey, I never thought it snowed in Texas. I'm gonna tell you that, let alone Houston. Right now outside it's about 15 degrees, and in Dallas it's like negatives, in the negatives with wind chill. I woke up this morning with, I normally keep the air really, really low in the house. Normally it gets anywhere from like 65 to 60. I just turn the heat off because I sleep better that way, and it's proven that you sleep better whenever it's cooler. But I woke up and I was like, man, I really don't want to get out of bed this morning. And something in my mind, in my intuition was like, I bet you this power's out because we got a snowstorm overnight. And when I say a snowstorm, some people think it's like inches, if not a foot, because I'm from Pennsylvania. But a snowstorm here in Texas is just like snow on the ground, literally. So I got up, the power was out, and I'm used to power being out growing up. And of course, just to kind of get along with this video, the purpose of this is whenever power goes out, I feel as if our generation is so soft that they think it's the end of the world. And it's cool because I made a bunch of Instagram stories saying about, right here, I got this fire. And I lit this fire probably like an hour and a half going on 2 hours ago because I thought we were out of matches. I was thinking, man, all these times I lit this fire, for the one time I need it, I don't have any matches. But lo and behold, thank the Lord, I opened like the last cabinet and there was a few matches left. And I'm thinking, yes, 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 yes. And it turns out, I didn't even know we had a generator. So I went outside, and my generator, I didn't know how to work it. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, Nate, how do you not know how to work this? So my neighbor, I asked him, I was like, you guys have heat? And they're like, yeah, the generator. And I was like, man, you mind if you could help me real quick? And turns out our generator battery is frozen, so it wouldn't work. So I'm thinking in my mind, I come inside and I'm like, wow, so I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur, and having technology, I need it, right? And I say I need it within a business sense. Do I need it to rely on it, like to live my life? Absolutely not. And whenever I found those matches to light this fire, I realized, and I had a realization, I'm like, because I always like to look at the great, right? In every situation, make the great. I always like to look at the positive. And I like being uncomfortable. And I said that on my Instagram story. I'm like, man, it's great to have moments of being uncomfortable, because when you are uncomfortable, it makes your mind work in ways, and it makes your mind think in other perspectives that it normally doesn't. So I'm over here thinking like, man, for example, if I wouldn't for some reason have food, because let's be real, I normally eat out all the time. So we don't really keep food stocked up here. We just keep like water and stuff. So in my mind, and again, with Uber Eats, DoorDash, Postmates, they're not delivering here in Houston during this time, because when it snows, people don't go anywhere. It's that big of a deal. So I tried to order stuff this morning for breakfast to get like a hot drink, and each one got canceled because nobody comes out. So I'm like, wow, dude. In my mind, I always think of like, well, man, the worst thing that can happen is, and it's really not a worst thing, and it's really, man, that thing like blew, and it's really not like a worst thing, but it's like, I better be prepared to fast, Like if I'm okay if I can't eat for a couple of days. Most people, they would get in such a negative attitude. But me, I'm like, man, you know what? I'm gonna learn from this. And I'm grateful to go through this. We might not have power. Man, thank the Lord for me finding them matches to have fire. Because I'll tell you, man, it's pretty cold here. When you get used to this Texas weather, it gets cold when it's like this. Plus the altitude's extremely high. So what I want you to get out of this is, I encourage you to do more manual labor, to do more manual work. When you're put into a situation with having no power, guess what? You conserve the battery that's on your phone. You can't use electricity, so you don't have lights. It's like you're living like the Mennonites and the Amish, right? Whenever it gets dark here, because this power's supposed to be out for like, I believe, a day or two. When it gets dark here, you don't have lights. You're gonna have to rely on some candles or a fire. I mean, I'm grateful to have this fire, because I was thinking, man, whenever the nighttime comes, it's gonna be pitch black here, you know? I was also thinking, man, I'm gonna have to, my business partner, he's away right now, but he just so happens to have a Tesla, right? So thank goodness for that, because I could easily just go pop in the car real quick without, having to go anywhere and turn in the ignition. And if it was a gas car, you'd have all those fumes, but I could easily just go in there and just warm up, and I can charge my phone in there too, which is great. But anyways, with all that in mind, something I feel everybody needs to get into the habit of doing, especially if you have kids or if you're gonna raise kids, I encourage you to teach them the importance of manual labor, mowing the grass, ironing clothes, okay, shoveling snow, taking the trash out, doing these different things, helping with chores around the house, literally encouraging them to do some of these things, and then to be able to gain phone access by doing these tasks, because you're not just having them do tasks for you and to help you. That's not the goal. The mentality is you're helping them establish self-discipline for themselves. So you don't have these kids or these children, because I'll be real, you have adults nowadays that are children because they don't know what it's like to work hard, to actually mow the grass, to do physical labor. Guess what? When I grew up and I realized that I had to mow the grass, I dreaded it. I didn't want to mow the grass. As soon as I came home, I wanted to play video games or go outside and play sports. But to mow the grass? I did not want to do that. But I made it a habit. As soon as I got home and I knew the grass needed mowed, I'd instantly go out, spend about 45 minutes to, I'd say about 60 to an hour and a half, 60 to 90 minutes using the push mower. And then eventually my mom, she got a riding mower. And this was like once I was almost through high school and pretty much graduated, she got a riding mower. Actually, I think that was after that, yeah. Because I was still living with her at the time, and I would use that riding mower, and I'm thinking, wow, talk about getting through something quick. And that's the thing, I have an appreciation for manual labor and manual work because I had to do that. And today I was reminded, because I don't got power, my mind is more creative, and I don't necessarily have to rely on my phone. Is there business that needs to get done? Absolutely. Can I still get it done? Yeah, but I'm being very cautious of the time that I spend on my phone, right? I'm reading more books. I mean, I've been reading a lot anyways of late, and I so happen to read a lot, but it's like you get into doing these activities, and then we become what I like to say is grounded. And then you have times, whenever the power goes out, people tend to look through old photos, they tend to read books, build puzzles, they tend to do board games, and they tend to come together. They're united as one. They are united, and it's such a beautiful thing, because you'll see, I was just outside and my neighbors were outside. I don't really converse much with my neighbors just because I'm in the house, like typically working a lot, or they're working. But it's like my neighbor invited me to go into their house to help them take off a generator from a top shelf. And I'm thinking, wow, this is my first time in my neighbor's house, and it felt great. It felt like a community. So I'm saying, like, listen, when you have electricity and when you have access to phones, spend a day without them. Or if you can't do that, set a time limit on yourself. Go back to the roots, because in the 1700s, ladies and gentlemen, I forget when electricity was introduced, but they didn't have electricity. It wasn't that long ago. Literally, it was a couple hundred years ago, 300 years ago. It was pretty recent. Go back to the 1500s, the 1300s. They didn't have that. I just feel as if a generation we are today, there's a lot of soft people. because they're so used to having stuff easily granted to them. Let me put it towards you this way. Picture yourself right now living in a world where there's no cars, there's no way of transportation, okay? There's no electricity, meaning there's no phones. Where are you gonna get your food from? And how are you gonna get there? Well, Nate, if you use common sense, you have to walk, okay? Chances are it's not gonna be right down the road, like a block. Chances are you're gonna have to walk like, quarter of a mile, half a mile, maybe a mile, or maybe miles to get your food. And that's one way, and then they come back, okay? Can you do that? Can you live with just candles and the gas with fire? Can you do that? Could you survive? Now, of course you can survive, but I'm willing to bet that you would be a completely different person compared to who you are today. And I 100% mean that. Because you're living a different lifestyle. Listen, I run a business from the phone. If I had no electricity, I wouldn't have a career. I wouldn't have a job with what I do. So I make sure every single day, I'm like, man, I don't take my phone for granted. Like, literally. But if you're just playing games and all this stuff on it, then it's like, But I still realize if I got all this wiped clean, I'd still make something happen. I'd go in the field, maybe do some manual labor. Have I done that before? Like working at a farm, doing manual labor and working in a field? I haven't. Am I open to it? You bet I am. Because I realize the power of adapting and adaptation, how extremely important that is. Are you willing to adapt when you get uncomfortable? See, the thing is, when you get uncomfortable, you have to become obsessed with it. Because when you become obsessed with getting uncomfortable, it's not the fact that it hurts, but it's the fact of what can you learn from this? What can you learn? Just because some people might not have power right now, they think it's the end of the world. No, it's not. You got a roof over your head. And even if you don't have a roof over your head, you got a life, man. You can go around and fend for yourself, So anyways, I just wanted to come on here today and express this. Since there's no power, be grateful for what you have. I'm extremely grateful to have a life, and even if the power wouldn't come on for a week, you bet I'll find a way, and I know you would too. Perspective, ladies and gentlemen, perspective.